800 soldiers in the DRC who are being held hostage. 800 soldiers, South African soldiers, are being held hostage by M23 and the Rwandan army. So there are two groups of South African soldiers. There's a group of South African soldiers inside the airport, and there's a group of South African soldiers with SADC soldiers. That is Malawi, Tanzania, and South Africa, who are at a military base. Both groups have been disarmed. So the group at the airport is allowed to handle their guns. They are allowed to keep their guns by Rwanda. So Rwanda is in control of the airport at Goma. They allow them to handle the guns. However, they're only allowed to use their guns to shoot at looters. So there are people who are looting at the airport. So the South African soldiers inside the airport are allowed to have guns to help with controlling the looters. However, they are basically also being watched. Then there is a group or a large group of SADC, UN, and South Africa, which is a military base adjacent to the airport. They've been totally disarmed, and South Africa is failing to enter the country because they cannot land at Goma. So South Africa cannot land at Goma, and South Africa has got no helicopters that can reach that country. So they cannot reach the DRC. So the DRC is very far. I think when you've flown, for those who have flown to the America, to the USA, when you're flying to the DRC, it takes so long. Let's say 6 hours. In a helicopter, it will take longer. So there's no helicopter in South Africa which can reach this place and then extract the soldiers. So what has happened is that SADC and South Africa in particular have got these, let's say, thousands of soldiers that are held. And the only people with the helicopters that can reach that country, which are in SADC, that is Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and probably, let's say which other countries could have, probably Zambia. They could have helicopters that reach Goma. They've not given any assistance. They've refused to assist. And the only country that has agreed to assist is Madagascar. So Madagascar has offered medical help to South Africa, but no one wants to cross Rwanda. No one wants to cross Rwanda. Therefore, the soldiers are stuck over there in the DRC, 800 South African soldiers stuck in the DRC. And at the moment, there is a lot of confusion because no one can negotiate with the rebels. The president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, has not initiated any negotiations with the president of Rwanda. So there is a stalemate where the South African soldiers are just being held and nothing can be done. No movement is taking place. And the families are only able to communicate with the soldiers through satellite phones. The satellite phones have been given to the soldiers of South Africa by M23. So M23 just give you a phone, you line up and you call your wife, but they're listening to everything that you say. So that is crazy, a crazy situation taking place in the SADC, a useless bunch of people led by Mnangagwa. They will not be able to do anything except to beg for mercy. That is what these guys are. This is a mess. The biggest problem with SADC is that Mnangagwa has assisted in rigging the elections in the DRC, he's assisted in rigging the elections in Mozambique, and he's also rigged the election in Zimbabwe. Last year, I went to SADC. So I'm not talking about things that I don't know here. I was inside SADC here, and when I arrived at SADC, the purpose of my visit to SADC was to ask SADC to intervene in Zimbabwe after the arrest of more than 130 opposition members, including the leader of the opposition party in Zimbabwe. I traveled to SADC, and these guys were so nonchalant, they don't care. And this is happening because they allowed Mnangagwa to do whatever he's doing. I wrote to President Cyril Ramaphosa the president of Tanzania, Samia Suluhu Hassan. I wrote to President Hakainde Hichilema at the time. I flew to Zambia to talk to the leaders of SADC at that time during the SADC summit. This was the developing situation, or the development of this situation that you're seeing in the DRC. Mnangagwa then put his people all over SADC to rig elections, resulting in what you're seeing right now, lack of credibility for SADC. And all these soldiers that are stuck right now is because when the presidents of this region were watching the situation developing, they did not care, they did not act. And Mnangagwa's actions are now starting to come back to haunt SADC, especially the 800 South African soldiers who are stuck right now, being held captive. If M23 just wake up and they decide to take them out, they can do it. They've got no one to stop them.